you on behalf of the Human Resource Development Cell of Shri Ram College of Commerce on day 2 of HR Connect 2.0. Before starting our session, I will request all of you to follow the basic virtual meeting etiquette and maintain the decorum of the event. It's my humble request to the audience, please keep your cameras on with your pretty smiles throughout the session. Believe me, friends, this session is going to be a great hour of your day. It's not every day that you get chance to meet an award-winning filmmaker, author, screenwriter, social influencer, public intellectual, and a member of the board of India's Central Board of Film Certification. It's an absolute honor for all of us to have a virtual meet with the director of the much celebrated movie, The Tashkent Files, and Junior as a speaker. Sir got the most prestigious A&M Gold Award and Ad Club Gold Award for creative excellence and contribution to the society with a public service ad film on AIDS. Sir is also a founder of a non-profit organization, Anbudha, which aims at exploring and bringing out the creative wealth and help make India an innovation hub, thriving on ideas and creativity. The achievement list of our guests doesn't seem to end. I will no more become a ball between you and Sir. So, my excited audience, let's welcome Mr. Ranjan Agnihotri.
Thank you for such kind words.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thanks a lot. So, first of all, I must thank all of you for inviting me. It's always a delight to be amongst students. And let me tell you a secret why I am always talking to students without even thinking twice. And whenever I have a choice to go to meetings or functions to give a speech to elderly people and students, I always go to students. It's another thing that mature people pay me money, but I don't do that. I'll tell you what is the reason. The reason is when I was growing up, I realized that everybody talks about the youth and students, but very rarely public intellectuals, influencers tell them exactly what is their real strength. In terms of real strength, we have created a kind of a template and we force everybody to follow that template. And the choice is given, either you follow the template to become engineer, doctor, CA or something, or nothing. So that's why you will find that generally in my generation, especially, all of us were very confused, either to obey the system or rebel. The reason I wanted to speak to you guys on the power of dreams is to shatter your dream that there's any power in dreaming. Now, this may sound a little weird to you, but I'll explain to you as I speak to you in next sometime. I don't know what is the time limit. Somebody can tell me. Sorry, Deepali. I can't hear.
So I think there's some audio issue. It's 45 minutes. However, it's with question and answers.
Okay, so how I would like to do it, I'll just give my initial thoughts on this. Then I would rather have question answers because I don't want to sit in a position of authority and tell you what is right and wrong. I want to understand from you and go back learning. So it should be a mutual learning between each other. So like I was saying, the problem has been that everybody comes from the power of authority and tells us what is right and wrong for us. And if we don't do that, then they say they are rebelling, they are rebellions. Before I start, I just want to bring some statistics in front of you. And this statistics is coming from NASA. NASA conducted a survey, one of the most prestigious and elaborate survey amongst 5-year-old children to find out that how many of them were creative genius. And very, very surprisingly, they found out that almost 98% of the entire group, which was a large group, were creative genius and 2% who were not creative genius because they were mentally or physically challenged or they had some kind of a biological issue. Then encouraged with that study, they said, okay, let's follow these children and let's see how many remain creative genius as they grow up. The hypothesis was that your creativity should keep increasing as you keep growing up. And the same survey was conducted on the same set of students, exactly the same set of students, 5 years later when they were 10 years old. Pardon me if I don't put the exact statistics, but this time only 33 or 35% students were creative genius, rest were not. Then again, the same survey was conducted when they were 15-year-old. And this time, that figure came down to 13% or something like that. But don't hold me for figures because I'm sorry, I just remembered, so I'm telling you. It can be few percentage here and there, but which means it considerably dropped down and became very, very low. Then the same survey was conducted when these students were 20 years old, almost your age or maybe a couple of years more than that. You will be shocked and surprised to know this time the figure had reversed. 98% did not remain creative, only 2% remained creative. Now you may wonder, what am I talking about? The thing is that as we study, you have to understand when we are born with two greatest gifts from God or Mother Nature or whatever the supreme power, the divine power is. One, that we can breathe, therefore we are alive. And we can be creative, the power to create, to be creative. That's why we are not animals and we are humans. Imagine if we take the power of imagination, the power of creativity, what will happen to this world? If you just take out this faculty of creativity from human beings' minds, what will happen? First of all, we will have no language. We won't know how to cultivate food. We won't know how to build houses. We won't know what is religion, what is philosophy, what is science, what is humanities, what is commerce. We will know nothing. There will be no currency and we will be living just like animals. The reason we are not animals is not because we have mind. Even animals have mind. Because we can create. We are creative people. But as we study, you have to understand the politics of this world. The evolution of human history has been authority based. There was a king or a tribal leader and they wanted obedient soldiers, lakhs and lakhs of soldiers. Therefore, there was a certain curriculum and course initially, I'm talking when the human evolution started. Please read some great books on anthropology, on human and social evolution of human beings, and you will understand all they wanted were soldiers to fight other tribes. And therefore, education came into being, and slowly and slowly and slowly, today the big corporations and the governments, the big authorities, people who have to control the masses, they have created a set curriculum for everybody, and therefore, slowly a child who could imagine, who could create, who could visualize, by the time you're 20, 25, 30, you do not remain creative. And I'll give you a very simple example of that. You don't have to go read any book. You don't have to read any science. You don't have to listen to Vivek Ranjan Agnihotri. You don't have to listen to any motivational speaker. Just have a conversation with your friends. And you say, how many of you are creative people here? People who are studying commerce won't raise their hands. People who are studying engineering won't raise their hands. They don't even realize that building bridges is the biggest creativity. Doctors won't raise their hands. Who will raise hands? People who sing, people who dance, people who paint. So we have converted everything, creativity, only in 5 or 6 disciplines of dancing, writing, making films and singing, which is wrong. A singer also works with just 7 numbers, 7 notations. And they keep practicing and find different permutations and combinations. and they create a certain kind of a musical language to communicate something, whereas an IT engineer is just playing with two numbers, 0 and dash, and in that binary they have created a language that today sitting here in Mumbai I am communicating with you. Now you decide who's creative and who's not. Creativity is not entertaining people. Creativity has got nothing to do with that. All of you are very extremely creative people. The minute you realize you are creative people, you don't have to dream. Dream big, dream. This is also a very, very big scam which is played on people. The reason I chose this topic, power of dreams, to tell you that it's not the dreams which have power, it is you which has power. Now let me just break it down for you. What is a dream? Dream basically comes from our subconscious mind. The mind where lots of insecurities, fears, which is a repressed side of your mind. Whenever you repress something, if you tell a child, say for example, a child loves to play some musical instrument or loves to dance. And when you start telling him, don't dance, don't dance, don't dance, you have to become an engineer, etc., that information will become repressed and he will have insecurities and fears and all kinds of repressive feelings towards that thing. We have fear of going in the dark. Why? Why do we have fear of going in the dark? Because when you put on the light, it remains the same, nothing changes. Because when you're a child and you want to go in the dark room, parents tell us, don't go there, there is a ghost. And therefore, that's how the fear of darkness comes in our minds. So subconscious is the dark mind where all the repressive feelings and regressions and suppressions and fears and insecurity stays. If that's what Freud told us, that's what Jung told us. So when we dream at night, we are dreaming abstract, something which has no relation with our real life, and also our dreams are also originating from our fears. And which is why if you see in Indian philosophy, in Indian culture and society, जो लोग दिन में भी सपने देखते हैं उनको शेख चिल्ली बोला जाता है. बोलते हैं ना, क्या दिन में सपने देख रहे हो, क्या ख्वाबी पुलाव बना रहे हो. शेख चिल्ली की कहानी आप लोगों ने सुनी होगी. So that is what dreaming is all about. And dreaming actually is a loosely used term when you start believing you are not creative. But the minute you realize that you are born like breathing, somebody on ventilator, somebody who's on ventilator, usi ko to bolte hain, come on, breathe, try to breathe. Somebody who's not being able to breathe. People suffer who has with asthma. So only when your mind is suffering from the belief that you are not creative is why all these motivational gurus, inspirational gurus, self-help books, and all those religious gurus come and say, dream big, dream big. But whenever you will dream big, trust me, this world is full of broken dreams, unrealized dreams. But you will say, now what is the alternative? What do I do? Therefore, I say visualize. Visualization and dreaming are two different things. Dreaming generally means I must have that. I must have a beach house. What's your dream? I must have a beach house. What's your dream? I should be a successful person. What's your dream? I should have the best spouse. Those are the kind of dreams which generally are connected to materialism, possession. And when you won't possess that, you will have misery, you'll have sorrow, you'll have pain, you'll be disappointed. Dream, I am dreaming that I'll come first in my class. And if you don't come, then your life will be full of sorrow. So dreaming will always give you disappointment because dreaming is abstract, but visualization is coming from your creative mind. It's imagination. It's got nothing to do with a beach house. It's got nothing to do with a car. It's about going into territories where you have not been able to go. And when you visualize, what you visualize with your own strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and how to cross those obstacles, how to cross those rivers and reach somewhere so you have a right path in front of you. And that is creativity. Everybody knows that ultimately we have to die. You have to be really dumb and stupid to know that you are not going to die. Everybody knows I have to die. But when you visualize a path to reach that destination, how you are going to do this journey or take this journey, that is what visualization is all about. But thinking before dying, I should have this, that is dreaming, and that may not happen. And this is done by the senapatis, the generals of the armies. They have shown dreams to the soldiers so that they obey them. That's why in our great culture and philosophy, Indian philosophy, dreaming was never encouraged, but visualization was encouraged. Now you are a chartered accountant, you are an MBA student, you are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are a nurse, you are a teacher. If nothing, you are a driver, you are a conductor, whoever you are in this world. You are a housewife, you are just a mother. Do you have a right to be creative and successful? So I'll tell you what this creativity thing is all about. Now, please excuse me, I've got a bad throat. I'll just explain this, then we'll open the forum for question answers. I want to take lots of questions today. So creativity basically is part of a big consciousness called creative consciousness. We are here to create. Without creation, there is no world, no humanity, no dialogue, nothing. Creativity is not creating something extraordinary. Creativity is whatever you are doing, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you do it with full consciousness, 100% consciousness, which means full awareness. You should know what you are doing, why are you doing, how it is done, are you doing it right, are you putting in the best quality in it or not, is it to the best of your ability or not. And when you start seeing your creation, which is just writing an essay, speaking to somebody, walking, eating, your own health, everything, when you are fully aware of it, 100% aware of it, like your mother was aware of you when you were a child, like a mother is aware of a child, like a gardener is aware of a flower, then it doesn't matter whether you are a carpenter or a gardener, or you are a rocket scientist, astronomer, or somebody on the Mars. It does not matter who you are, as long as you are fully aware of what you are doing, you are a creative person. Otherwise, you are just following orders to deliver. Then you are just a delivery man. It doesn't matter. You are taking things from point A to point B, but in the process, how you are doing it is totally lost. And which is why you will find that when children became 20 years old in NASA's survey, only 2% remain creative genius, 98%. Nothing was wrong with them. If you conduct an IQ test, you'll find those 98% people had a better IQ than the 2% people. Because in IQ, we ask intelligent questions about data, about memory, about history, about a whole lot of things. But what creative people? Answer is no. And which is why you will find only 2% people in this world actually create everything which happens around us. Everybody else becomes a consumer. And when you just become a consumer of somebody else's creativity and you are failing to exploit your own creativity, then your life is filled with disappointment. Then all your life is spent thinking that there is something, there's a point, there's a place where you reach and you will be happy and successful, and you struggle all your life, you never reach there. Never ever reach there. How does it matter whether you get 98% or not? How does it matter? Seriously, to get a job, but let me tell you an alternate way to that also. Whatever you do, suppose the concepts, this is a human resource development thing, but if you have understood the fundamentals of human resource development as deeply and as beautifully as you have understood the concept of your life principles like friendship, like relationships, like family, how to walk, how do you know it? How to speak, how do you know it? Because nobody challenged you to speak well. You just learned it with practice, with full awareness. That's how you learned it, and it's helping you today in life. Getting a job cannot be your dream. Getting a job cannot be your destination. Your destination has to be to live this life with complete joy. That's the only purpose of life. And joy comes only when you are in a creative consciousness, when you are in a creative mindset, and that is success. That is the real success. Possessing 2 cars and 2 houses is not success. What you do with those houses and those cars, how you use it to find joy in your life is success. And joy can also come looking at a child's smile. Joy can also come by looking at a good flower. Joy can also come by doing your job with utmost quality, with utmost satisfaction, whatever it is. And job does not mean going 9 to 5 job. By job, I mean even when you are eating. Your health, for example. Your biggest, a lot of people ask me what is success, because I talk a lot on success. And my concept is not success. My concept is success plus. Whatever world tells you is success, you need something plus. And that plus is joy, health. Without health, there is no joy. Now, how many of you are actually fully aware of your health, your habits? We are not born to develop bad habits. But if we spend all our time in a day, you have only few creative hours. Only few creative hours. Rest are only for day-to-day work, going from here to there, for errands, for a whole lot of other things, you know. You sleep, you have to maintain relationships, you have to do a lot of college work. So you spend in a lot of mechanical exercises. So you have very few hours for creative exercises, for creative time, where you self-develop yourself. Now you tell me, you decide whether you want to spend that time watching Netflix, OTTs, television news, gossiping, sleeping around, wasting time in bars and pubs, how you're using it. That's where real creativity comes in. So I think your aim should not be in believing the power of dreams, but in believing in your own creative faculty, which God has gifted you with, and there is no discrimination in that. God has gifted everybody with that. Imagine when you were a child, a 5-year-old child, 4-year-old child, and your mother or your parents, I don't know, I was punished like that. If you were punished, you were locked into a room, in a dark room, you would cry for 2 minutes, and within no time, you would start creating a world around you. You will start playing with things, objects, furniture. You'll create a world around you. You will create imaginary friends. You will create that world, and you will create your own story in that world, your own role in that world. But as we grow, today, if you are left alone, you don't know what to do with yourself. You say, I'm bored. I need something. Oh, my phone is not working. My TV is not working. If you're left with nothing, most of the people are found to get frustrated. So look at it like, just to give you a very simple idea, this life is like a feature film. You have to decide if somebody else is going to write it for you, or you are just going to play a subordinate character in that, going wherever the hero goes, or you are going to be the writer of your own screenplay, which is your life, and you are going to be the hero of that. That is possible only when you realize that you are gifted with creativity, use it to visualize. And before I finish, I'll tell you one trick which I use a lot every year, almost all the times I do it with myself. It's a very simple trick which you can use to really, really change your life, because I did. Until last 8 or 10 years, I was also following the same template life. And then one day I got liberated. And that liberation came, I visualized. I went to somebody had died, and I had gone there, and in the funeral meeting, everybody was speaking for 2 minutes about the person. And then and there, I said, what if when I am dead, what's going to happen? So I visualized I am lying dead, and there are people who are speaking about me. And instantly, in that very moment, I understood that, oh, this is what people are going to talk about me. They will say, okay, this man also did this, he was successful, he was a filmmaker, blah, 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 which can be told about 100%, but where am I? And I said, now I will write the script of my life, because I want people to say this about me. And I took a blackboard, wrote whatever I thought I was. I wrote whatever people thought I was, and what I thought I can be. and I deleted everything which was in my past. Literally, no exaggeration, I actually did it. I have just done a master class on my School of Creativity where I have shown how I did it with the papers and everything. I actually wrote who I am, what people think about me, and what I want to be, what people should be talking in my obituary, in my funeral prayer, what they should be talking about me. And suddenly, the things which matter to me, suddenly they didn't matter to me. And I'm not saying you have to become a good person, compassionate person, philanthropist. No, nothing of that sort. And I deleted everything which I believed I was in last 40, 45 years. And suddenly my life changed. I stopped making the kind of films I was making because I realized I was making the films which people wanted to hear, the stories which people wanted to hear. I said, no, now I will tell stories which I want to tell. And I left Mumbai and went and spent time with the students of Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. And I created a film without even caring whether it's for box office or film. Which nobody would imagine to make. Why will anybody make a film like that? Which went on to become the most successful film of last year. From anywhere. And now I have just finished the Kashmir Files. I wrote two bestsellers, one Urban Excels and second Who Killed Shastri. Now I'm writing my first fiction, which will be I have 2, 3 t-shirts and couple of jeans, and doesn't matter. I'm still successful. I can afford any kind of clothes, most expensive clothes, but I don't need it because suddenly I had deleted all those things. And I started a new journey and I found success. Every second of the day, I feel successful. I Hello, I lost it somewhere.
Yes, sir, you are audible. You are audible.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, you lost me
Yes,
somewhere.
sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I think. Did you hear me? Where did you lose me? I would suggest now all of you ask me questions and let me learn from you where you are, what you want to do, and I will just share my experiences with you, what I think is correct. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So first of all, thank you for your insights into the most important topic, power of our dreams, that I know affects and touches the heart of all of us present here. That was really amazing. Now the floor is open for the audience. Guys, send your queries and questions directly to me, that is Dipali Nishad, in the chat box. I will read it out for you. So till the time I'm getting question from audience, there is one that I would like to ask.
Sure.
So first of all, when I got to know that I'm hosting this session, I was really excited, and I'm even now. So I wanted to ask you, like, what inspired you to write Urban Nextel?
Deepali, um, when I was growing up, I was also part of the Naxal movement, and I realized that in India, there was a big problem, anybody who was from a small town, middle class, who believed in certain kind of values, when you go to big colleges and universities, suddenly there is a group of people who try to show you down as if you are not part of the entire system. And I started researching and understanding on that. And then I realized what is the reason that you have to understand there's a Naxal movement in Adivasi areas, and all these people with guns, you must have seen videos and all, they are killed every day by CRPF. Their number goes down. A lot of people leave also, but still their number never goes down. It keeps increasing. I said, what is the reason for this? And when I did research, I found out that a lot of students are recruited from universities, and they are recruited by who? They are recruited by professors. So a lot of people may not understand what I'm saying, but if you read the book or from your own examples, you can see that, for example, if there's a girl who comes from a small town, if she comes to Delhi or Bombay and goes into some empowered college, a big college or university, and she doesn't want to do certain things, they will say, "Arre, tum to behan ji ho." A lot of boys also go through this. And that's where you are challenged immediately for your own values, for your own beliefs. And then you want to belong because we are young. Second thing is that they are brainwashed in believing that everything about India is wrong, which is not true. Which is not true. We are a great country, we have a great culture, and we are moving ahead. And from nowhere, within 70 years of independence, we have been able to achieve the kind of power in this entire world, which is unparalleled. No other country has become as powerful as we have become. A free democratic country, I'm talking about, not dictatorship. So a lot of brainwashing takes place. So I traveled from campus to campus, college to college, spent time with very ordinary people, poor people, students, all kinds of things. And I realized that the people who basically collude with the enemies of India, they find ideological support in the urban areas. And this comes from media, from professors, from intellectuals, from historians, from celebs, from influencers, all kinds of people. And there is a very strong funding behind it. And I researched and found out the sources of funding and all those kind of things and put that in a book. Actually, Urban Excels is not what people think. It's not so much about politics, but it is basically a story of a small town middle class boy, which is me, and the way I have seen India. It's a story of India and Indian people.
Thank you, sir. That was really helpful. Now we have Lavish Kumar. He is asking how to overcome the fear of failure, as fear may strike us when we are in the course of working for our goals.
Thank you for that question. It's a brilliant question. Failure of fear, or fear of failure. First of all, there is no such thing in this world as failure. You have been taught wrong. It's a scam. You have been told this by people who do not want you to succeed. Every moment of your life, you are succeeding. I'll just give you one example. There was one yogi, and he wanted to learn carpentry, and he wanted to make a chair. So and there was nobody to teach him, and he tried in many ways to make it. He couldn't make, and almost on the thousandth attempt, he made finally a good chair. So somebody told him, okay, so you failed so many times and ultimately you succeeded. He said, no, I succeeded 999 times in learning what not to do to make a chair. The thing is, whenever you're doing something in life, you are also learning at the same time what you should not do. And that's how you reach a path. It's only when you take various paths, you learn which is the right path to take, and every path you take and you do not reach there is success. This failure, what is failure? I mean, you imagine you are, say there's a writer inside you and you are doing a commerce course, and if you do not get 98% marks, you're not a failure. If you get 33%, you are not a failure at all. Failure, what is, you are in the wrong place, doing wrong thing. The day you will realize what you are, the day you realize your own creative strength, that day you will end up doing what you have to do. So when you fall, suppose when you get flu, do you say, I have failed? You don't say that. When you eat something and you get food poisoning, do you say, I have failed? You don't say that. What you learn is that, yes, you should not eat this food. That's what I am saying. If it is raining and you go out and you get wet, you don't fail. You learn that next time you should take an umbrella. And that learning is a very big success. So that's how I look at it. You should not have any fear of failure, because there is no such thing as failure. I don't believe that even once in my life I ever failed. A child who's trying to walk, he keeps falling all the times. And the whole world says you have to fall to learn. Falling is not a bad thing. Falling is just an attempt to learn how to walk. It's a process. So where is the failure in that? Falling is not a bad thing. Rising is not a better thing. You just have to find your maximum potential, and to reach there, there's a process of what path you must not take. Suppose you are doing a course in commerce and you drop out. You have learned this is not meant for you. After doing commerce, say when you are 35, you realize, no, I'm not happy here, and you leave it and do something else. You have not failed. You have learned that this is not the right path for you. There is some other path for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have a question from Sangeeta Yadav, who she's asking, she saw some videos on YouTube both praising and criticizing you, one of the game changer movies, Buddha in a Traffic Jam. I want your guidance how a person should react to these critics when you know you are not wrong at any point. Same happens in college life too. So what will be your advice to youngsters regarding this?
Wonderful question. And whenever you create something, first of all, you have two choices. Don't create anything, don't do anything. Then you won't have critics. Then you will have no criticism. There will be no problem. But once you create something, there will be people who will agree with it, appreciate it, or who won't agree and appreciate with it. Suppose if one voice was the ultimate voice, there won't be so many religions, so many cultures, so many countries, which means different people find different paths and different meanings in different places. So when I make a movie, there will be people who agree with it, and there are people who are going to criticize it. And see, the problem you have with criticism or with critics, this comes only when you want validation, when you want people's approval, when it matters to you what people are thinking about you, when you see yourself from other people's eyes with their opinions. And which is why I'll tell you, it's not a complex thing. I learned it very late in life. I spent all my life impressing people. problem is in modern world, we try to do everything which impresses others. What impresses our parents, then what impresses our friends, then what impresses our professors, what impresses our bosses, society, people. On Instagram, we are always trying to put those photos which is going to impress people. And in that process, we forget that we have a great, great, great power, which is a billion-dollar power, is that we can express ourselves. So we forget to express ourselves. You are in this world to express yourself, not impress others. The day you start expressing yourself, today nobody will like it. There will be millions of critics. Critics will be only when you are expressing yourself. Critics won't be there when you are impressing others. So when you express yourself, there will be critics, but slowly you will find your own audience, your own listeners, people who will understand what you are trying to say. So when I made Buddha in a Traffic Jam, there were more critics than people who understood it. Slowly in 5-6 years, it started becoming a cult film. Then people started calling me everywhere. Then top universities of the world started calling me to give lectures. Then publishers started calling me. And slowly lots of students started understanding what I was saying. Because I made it fearlessly. I was just creating. I was not bothered about what people are going to think about it. When I made Tashkent Files, every single person told me that people don't even know Shastri who's going to watch your film. Then people said, this is a film, it has got no climax, nobody's going to watch it. Everybody told me, lots of actors refused to do that film. They said, in one room, everybody is talking, there's no entertainment, no music, no comedy, nothing. Who's going to watch this or drop this film? When I completed the film, distributors and exhibitors refused to distribute the film. They said, nobody is going to watch this film. The studio said, oh, young people have no idea about Shastri. Why will they watch your film? When finally we released the film, do you know that it came with Kalank, and Kalank came in 5,000 theaters. Our film had only 170 and then reduced to 140 screens. Kalank vanished in 3 days. We ran for 125 days and became the biggest film. Why? Because I was not trying to impress anyone. I was just expressing what I had learned. So express yourself. Don't try to impress people. The day you will stop doing the kind of selfies on Instagram, which gets more likes and more comments, and you will just do without any fear what you want to say, what you want to express, you will find a following which will be loyal, which will always stay with you. You'll be able to create your own family.
Thank you for sharing with us such an enriching experience of yours. And sir and all other my friends, pardon me due to the time constraint. We can't take more questions, but don't worry, you guys can always reach out to us on our social media handles. On behalf of everyone here and Human Resource Development Cell, I thank you, Mr. Vivek Ranjan Agnihotri, sir, for sharing your journey with us. So hopefully we can avoid some of the potholes of ours. We were truly honored and obliged for your presence. Thank you, sir. And at last but not the least, our audience, thank you for being patient and supportive. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and have a great life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.